both in amazing ways and not so much. We're Ben and Syya, and welcome to the Gnaw on This Business Bites podcast. This show is all about real life things we all deal with every day, how they relate to business, and how to make some sense out of our daily chaos. Welcome to the show. Welcome back to another episode of Gnaw on This. I'm Ben and this is Syya. So here's a question for you. Do our thoughts and do our actions create our reality? I have been hearing conversation after conversation about a recession. Oh my God, we're going into the recession. It's going to be the biggest recession that we've seen in years. It could rival the 1930s, the crash of 29. And I'm not seeing it. And I'm not seeing it for a lot of different reasons. And it may still come and it may not come. But here's the thing. Are we manifesting it? Are we doing the thoughts and actions that are bringing the recession about? Are we sitting there, thinking about the recession? So all of a sudden we're cutting staff, and all of a sudden we're holding back on new projects, and we're not hiring people, and we're not investing because, oh my God, this recession's coming. And because we're doing that, we're bringing ourselves into recession. So we need to think, are our thoughts and actions, are what we do on a daily, weekly, monthly, yearly basis manifesting what happens? So Syya.
Okay, so literally, you're using the word I was actually going to say, which is how much of self-manifestation becomes reality, right? Wait,
exactly.
Look, we're not going into the socioeconomical, global, positioning of the recession, because we are technically in one. But the question, I think what you're asking, and I think it's really challenging, is your today life in this moment in time in your business really truly affected by it, or are you just anticipating it? Are you just, are you
holding back your life because it might happen?
So, yes. So the answer, I think, is very tricky for a lot of people. For me, I'm just doing what I do, right? I'm just living life, and I'm just enjoying myself. Now, granted, my industry and what I do for a living, it could theoretically, I could argue with you and say, oh man, I have some marketing contracts from some of my clients that are getting pulled, or they're reevaluating budgets. And you know how it is in recessions, marketing is the first to go, right? How can
marketing and sales are the first people that get canned?
It shouldn't be, right? When it's going down, that's when you should be doubling up, right? For getting your credibility, the messaging that it is, because the odds are high. Your competitor is dropping their budgets.
Your competitor's doubling down. So if you're not, even if you're putting yourself in a good position in the short term, when the recession ends or when the economy changes or whatever, it's going to take you longer to ramp up and become that vendor of choice again, because somebody else is beating you to the punch.
Exactly.
In the short term.
So okay. Is it self-manifestation? Am I saying it, seeing it? I can say in the tech industry, oh boy, I am seeing there is a lot of tightening going around. And again, is the tech sector as poorly affected as, or as hard affected? Out of my control. But what we can't control is, okay, then maybe let's get more creative. If we're going to have to hunker down on budgets, maybe the initial scope of work, let's scale it back slightly, right? Not cancel it altogether. Let's maybe reframe how we want to go about it. Maybe our target audience is a different target. Maybe you want to hone in on the lowest hanging fruit audience. Well, that means you might have to readjust messaging, but it doesn't mean stop work. It doesn't mean kill all budgets. It just means let's tweak it. So yeah, I'm right there with you, my friend. Yeah.
Well, I guess I wasn't thinking about the economy as end all or be all. I was using it as an example. But we as human beings, I think I'm getting a cold. Guess what? 3 days later, you've got a cold. I really don't want. I'm not going to have a good time at the party. Guess what? You show up at the party, you have a lousy time. We all think about things, and we put ourselves in a position where whatever we're thinking becomes reality, because either it actually is reality, or we're manifesting it that way. And I think that the human mind has the ability to either talk ourselves into something or talk ourselves out of something, either put ourselves in a positive position or a negative position. And I think the economy is a good example of how we either act or react to the economy and what's going on around us. But as human beings, are we manifesting what comes next based on whether we have a positive outlook or a
Well, let me
negative outlook?
challenge you on this. And so, like, okay, so I think, the premise I think is we're very much on the same page, which is like, is our reality truly reality? Da la la, da la la. Ooh, okay, I'm kidding, but
She's back. She's back. She's okay.
but Ben, what are you seeing? What have you experienced something recently? Because I feel like we've got stories here that we're both not telling, and so I want to hear it from you. What are you experiencing?
Well, I mean, I know that there's certain situations in the world that I know, 3 weeks ahead of time. I know I'm gonna have to go and do something. I'm gonna have to go visit some relatives, or I'm gonna have to go get involved in something, or I have to go go to the hospital or something like that. And I always make things worse than they need to be. If I just said, you know what, it's gonna be what it's gonna be, and I show up and it is, usually it's never as bad as I think it's going to be. But you put yourself in a position where you go, oh God, these relatives are coming into town, and my dad's going to make such a big deal about it. I'm going to have to book off time to be with these people, and I don't have the time. And so when it actually comes, and you get the phone call and say, yeah, we're going for dinner. Oh man, how am I going to drive 45 minutes to go to my dad's place? I'm never going to be able to find a place to park. These people are going to yap for 3 hours, and you leave the event miserable because you already walked in the door thinking you're going to be miserable. And instead of sitting there going, you know what, these relatives are coming into town, let's see how it goes. And it might be a positive experience, it might be a negative experience, but guarantee you it's going to be a negative experience if all of a sudden we're giving ourselves that doubt talk, hours, days, weeks ahead of time, building it up.
It's never as bad as you think it is. It never is bad. And I am notorious. I am such the avoider of all things if I can. I'm so bad. I prefer to live in like unicorns and rainbow land. Like for me, I'm an eternal optimist. So it's like, oh yeah, that's a nuclear bomb. But
could you send me a pair of rose-colored glasses? I could use them.
You know what though? I think that's also my personality type though too, because I always I am all about the life of Brian. Look on the bright side of life. Right. I mean, you could literally be in that movie. Right. And for those that are of a certain age, you get what I'm saying, and you're cool.
I'll see if I can search it out.
No, if you don't know Monty Python, people, I think we need to have a education on Monty Python awesomeness anyway. But that being said, I'm not that. I've had situations where I will go to like a happy hour networking event where I know no one. Or not only do I not know anyone, I actually know I probably will have disdain for half the people because they're not my type of people, but I have to be there for whatever various reasons, right? But the funnier thing is, I'm a lemonade maker, man. I'll go, and I think that's also probably my personality. I am extroverted, and I might enjoy a glass of wine while I'm doing it. There is something... There might be something to be said. I'm not endorsing alcohol by any stretch of the imagination, but it's something where it does relax you a little bit to be like, okay, I can deal. It just numb me ever so slightly. But it doesn't mean that the whole world is going to come crashing and burning people. That's all I'm saying. I think you just go with a mindset, you do it, you suck it up, buttercup, and you'd be surprised at what the outcome is. That's what I'm arguing.
Because I agree, because when you build it up ahead of time, when you already walk in with that negative thought process, when you're already looking for an excuse, how early can I leave this party? You're going to leave the party early, and you're probably going to leave the party before anything fun actually happens. And you're going to get a report the next day that says, yeah, all of a sudden they built a volcano in the backyard and it was spewing beer and all this kind of stuff. It was awesome. And you're already been home and in your jammies. and you missed half the fun because you had it in your head that, oh no, I'm leaving this party early because it's going to be
not
dead.
fun too.
But
another thing to add, you're missing memories. I think experience and memories.
Absolutely.
I think fun is subjective. So I can see where someone listening right now, and you guys just tell us if you think you're full of crap or not. When you miss out on opportunities, it's not the fun. It's not the whatever. It's the knowledge that you'll gain, the experience, the wisdom, right, of having been there. That's what I think we need to argue, right? Is that when you don't put yourself up and out there, when you're going to poo-poo any new idea and opportunity, or you say it's all going to end poorly anyway, that's the result you're going to get. I mean,
my philosophy is say yes and then figure it out.
Have you always been that way though? Because you're a pragmatist. I feel like I'm the like woohoo, and I feel like you're like the grounded, like let's make some rational decisions here. Like, how do you get yourself up and out? Because I can tell you're more of the, all right, let me deal with these people. I'm gonna do it. Like,
but on the other hand, I'm willing to take a risk. I'm a big believer of you don't know until you get there. And I'll figure it out along the way. Yes, I'm a strategy person. Yes, I'm planning 3 steps down the road. I always have. I've always know what's going to happen 3 steps down the road, or at least plan for A, B, C, and D situation. But my attitude is I always walk into a situation with, yes, let's do it. And then if something goes wrong, I'll figure it out. And I think that that's become, as I get older, that becomes a healthier way of looking at things. Is to sit there and say, do you have a chance to go to Israel? Yes. Okay, go. Do I have a job? No. Do I have an apartment? No. Okay, we'll go and we'll figure it out. And we'll, when we get there, we have friends that we can sleep on their couch for a couple of weeks until I find a job and an apartment, which I did. When I moved to a different city, I did it and then figured it out. When I left my partner and started my own company, I didn't know exactly how things were going to turn out. I just did it and then figured it out. So I think that the risk is that the jumps we don't make. If we don't take the jumps, if we don't cross the chasm, if we don't take those risks, nothing will ever happen. And I think it's more worrying about the stuff that didn't happen in your life, and you regret the things the choices you didn't make, rather than the ones you did make, fall flat on your face, get up, laugh about it, and dust off. Okay,
so let me okay, look, I think we're in agreement on this. So let me ask you this: has there actually ever been let's go on the cons? Let's just be on the opposite side. Has there ever been a time where you're like, no, I called it. This is going to be such a show that like. I guarantee you this is what's going to happen. Like, and it did. And you're like, I nailed this. Yep. Have you ever experienced that? Like, tell me about that. Cause everyone can't hear all those unicorn and roses, though I like to live in it. I do know we got to bring it back to reality. So what was your experience?
Yeah. I mean, I know walking into situations, whether there's going to be a problem or not. I may not know what the problem is, but I know there's going to be problems. Half the time because, and I hate to say it, you've got a couple of Pollyannas in the group that are just like, let's go. And you're going, wait a second, hold on a second. What did you not think about before? And they're great to have because they lead the charge. They have no fear. They're willing to try anything. I love it. But every once in a while, you got to grab them by the ears and pull them back a little bit, just to keep them in line, just so everybody else can keep up with them. But there are situations I've been in where you walk in the door and you know something's going to go wrong. And, whether it's a client, whether it's, there's conversations I just can't have. And a lot of these conversations I just can't have because quite honestly, they're under non-disclosure. But you sit there and you go, you just have the spidey sense and the hair tingling on the back of your neck. And you know that somebody didn't look at something that's going to cause a great big mess. And quite honestly, here's a perfect example. A buddy of mine when I was in university wanted to get married. We looked at it. We sat there and said, don't marry her. Please don't marry her. 8 weeks later, they were divorced. Yeah, it was just one of those things. Everybody saw it except the two of them. Everybody except the two of them saw that this was a disaster waiting to happen. And within 8 weeks, literally, almost to the day, they were
Could you annul
divorced.
that? I think you can annul that. I mean, I don't know if
I have no idea. We held a wake. You know, we literally, you know, had him over and we held a wake. And that's how we handled it on our side. But, you know, but when it came to the legal thing, I'm sure there was an annulment. I'm sure there's got to be some legal options like that. But it was one of those situations, walking in, you knew these two people.
Okay, so I think to wrap this up, I think with what you just pulled in, just triggered in my head is there is this thing of fear, right? Like, is fear holding you back? You know, are you letting it do that self-fulfilling prophecy? But then there's also the intuition component. There's fear and intuition, which I think are two different things, but I do think people superimpose the two at times. And so that's where I think you really do need to parse it out, because if you have a real intuitive gut, something's not quite right, the odds are high you've got facts to back it up. Whereas the fear is probably more emotionally based. Even though intuition is supposed to be a feeling, usually there's something there that's telling you, whereas fear is just straight up almost like lies you lie to yourself, lies that you lie to yourself with. So
absolutely. No, I agree with you that there's a huge difference between intuition and fear. You know, if my spidey sense goes off and says, don't go left, I'm not going left. If it's, you know, if I'm worried that there's a big dark hole to the left, you know what? That's fear. And I'll go and I'll see it. I'll find out if there actually is, and then we'll deal with it. But it's a matter of seeing the difference between the two.
Well, I think that is a perfect stopping point for us, because I can tell we can go off on the intuition side, which I think is a really great topic that we want to know on. I think.
Well, we may have to do something on intuition, because that would be a good topic. Anyway, I'm Ben.
I'm Syya.
And we'll see you soon.
Hey. Thanks for listening to another episode of Not on This, Business Bites. If you liked what you heard, we most humbly ask that you like, share, and hit that subscribe button. And if you want to communicate more effectively within your organization, contact Ben at yourbrandmarketing.com or me at brilliantbeammedia.com. We can help you build your community, brand awareness, and personality through digital content and podcasting. We cannot wait to hear from you. So see you next week for another episode of Not on This, Business Bites.